Life without love is no life at all. As a well-spent day brings happy sleep, so life well used brings happy death. Life well spent is long. While I thought that I was learning how to live, I have been learning how to die. Our life is made by the death of others. Not to appreciate life, all of life, is not to deserve it. People reveal themselves completely only when they are thrown out of the customary conditions of their life. In time and with water, everything changes. Just as a well-filled day brings blessed sleep, so a well-employed life brings a blessed death. Life is pretty simple. You do some stuff. Most fails, some works. You do more of what works. Art is never finished, only abandoned. The painter has the universe in his mind and hands. Painting is poetry that is seen rather than felt, and poetry is painting that is felt rather than seen. A painter should begin every canvas with a wash of black, because all things in nature are dark except where exposed by the light. There is no object so large but that at a great distance from the eye, it does not appear smaller than a smaller object near. Beauty perishes in life, but is immortal in art. Art lives from constraints and dies from freedom. A beautiful body perishes, but a work of art does not. Poor is the pupil who does not surpass his master. You can have no dominion greater or less than that over yourself. The painter tries to master color, while the chef has mastered taste. Learning never exhausts the mind. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Where the spirit does not work with the hand, there is no art. Study without desire spoils the memory, and it retains nothing that it takes in. Nature is the source of all true knowledge. She has her own logic, her own laws. She has no effect without cause, nor invention without necessity. The noblest pleasure is the joy of understanding. Art is the queen of all sciences, communicating knowledge to all the generations of the world. The human foot is a masterpiece of engineering and a work of art. The knowledge of all things is possible. Learning is the only thing the mind never exhausts, never fears, and never regrets. All our knowledge has its origin in our perceptions. The noblest pleasure is the joy of understanding. Wisdom is the daughter of experience. Every action needs to be prompted by a motive. Realize that everything connects to everything else. Experience does not err. Only your judgments err by expecting from her what is not in her power. Where there is shouting, there is no true knowledge. The greatest deception men suffer is from their own opinions. Water is the driving force of all nature. He who loves practice without theory is like the sailor who boards a ship without a rudder and compass and never knows where he may cast. Study the science of art. Study the art of science. Develop your senses, especially learn how to see. Realize that everything connects to everything else. The noblest pleasure is the joy of understanding. The function of muscle is to pull and not to push, except in the case of the genitals and the tongue. Love shows itself more in adversity than in prosperity, as light does, which shines most where the place is darkest. Love is like fever, which comes and goes quite independently of the will. There are no age limits for love. It had long since come to my attention that people of accomplishment rarely sat back and let things happen to them. They went out and happened to things. Nature never breaks her own laws. Nature is the source of all true knowledge. She has her own logic, her own laws. She has no effect without cause, nor invention without necessity. Nature is pleased with simplicity, and nature is no dummy. Nature is relentless and unchangeable, and it is indifferent as to whether its hidden reasons and actions are understandable to man or not. Nature is full of infinite causes that have never occurred in experience. Nature is the master of talents. Genius is the master of nature. Iron rusts from disuse. Stagnant water loses its purity and in cold weather becomes frozen. Even so does inaction sap the vigor of the mind. The noblest pleasure is the joy of understanding. Once you have tasted flight, you will forever walk the earth with your eyes turned skyward, for there you have been, and there you will always long to return. Nothing strengthens authority so much as silence. He who wishes to be rich within a day will be hanged within a year. I love those who can smile in trouble, who can gather strength from distress, and grow brave by reflection. 'Tis the business of little minds to shrink, but they whose heart is firm, and whose conscience approves their conduct, will pursue their principles unto death. One can have no smaller or greater mastery than mastery of oneself. I have from an early age abjured the use of meat, and the time will come when men such as I will look upon the murder of animals as they now look upon the murder of men. Nothing can be loved or hated unless it is first understood. If you are alone, you belong entirely to yourself. If you are accompanied by even one companion, you belong only half to yourself, or even less in proportion to the thoughtlessness of his conduct. And if you have more than one companion, you will fall more deeply into the same plight. It is easier to resist at the beginning than at the end. The deeper the feeling, the greater the pain. As you cannot do what you want what you can do. An average human looks without seeing, listens without hearing, touches without feeling, eats without tasting, moves without physical awareness, inhales without awareness of odor or fragrance, and talks without thinking. God sells us all things at the price of labor. I awoke only to find that the rest of the world was still asleep. Obstacles cannot crush me. Every obstacle yields to stern resolve. Share your favorite quote in the comments, and let's inspire each other.